Have you ever wondered what it would be like to hold a cup of coffee without that constant tremor that makes the liquid spill? Or perhaps button your own shirt without the frustration of fingers that simply won't cooperate? For those living with Parkinson's, these simple everyday acts can turn into daily battles against their own bodies. Each morning begins with that uncertainty. Will I be able to move a little more freely today? Will the tremors give way during that important lunch with the family? Will the stiffness in my muscles allow me to take that walk I love so much? I know well these silent questions that permeate the days of those living with Parkinson's. As a neurologist specializing in movement disorders, I have seen hundreds of patients over 20 years of clinical practice. And if there's one thing I've learned on this journey, it's that small changes in diet can make a surprising difference in symptom control. What many doctors don't have time to explain during consultations is that certain foods contain specific bioactive compounds that can directly influence Parkinson's mechanisms in the brain. I'm not talking about miracle cures or exaggerated promises, but about nutritional strategies backed by recent scientific research that have helped many of my patients regain small, valuable moments of independence. Imagine being able to reduce the intensity of tremors before an important meeting or lessen muscle stiffness, so you can play with your grandchildren without feeling trapped in your own body. Today, I'm going to share with you 6 powerful foods that can help reduce tremors and muscle stiffness, giving you more control over your daily life with Parkinson's. These are affordable foods found in any grocery store and can be easily incorporated into your diet. Let's understand together how they work in your body and how you can use them to regain moments of greater freedom and confidence. Before we begin, I'd like to know where you're watching from today. Leave a comment below and feel free to ask any questions you have about diet and Parkinson's. Before we continue with our next method, I want to extend a special invitation. If you or someone you love is facing the daily challenges of Parkinson's and is looking for reliable, science-based information explained in a simple way, the Beyond Parkinson's channel was created especially for you. Here, we regularly share practical strategies, exercises, and tips that have helped hundreds of people regain small and large amounts of independence in their daily lives. Click the subscribe button now. It's completely free, so you won't miss any techniques that can make a difference in your quality of life or that of your loved one. Now let's understand how diet can influence Parkinson's symptoms. First, we need to understand what happens in the brain of someone with Parkinson's and how certain foods can help. As you probably already know, Parkinson's is characterized by the progressive loss of neurons that produce dopamine, a neurotransmitter essential for controlling movement. But what many don't know is that this degeneration is closely linked to inflammatory processes and oxidative stress in the brain. This is where nutrition comes into play. Certain foods contain compounds that can reduce neuronal inflammation, combat oxidative stress, and in some cases, even influence dopamine production and metabolism. Furthermore, some nutrients can improve the absorption and effectiveness of levodopa, the most common medication used to treat Parkinson's. Recent studies also suggest that the gut microbiota, directly influenced by what we eat, may play an important role in the progression of the disease and the severity of symptoms. With this information in mind, let's explore the first food that can make a big difference for those with Parkinson's. The first powerful food for those with Parkinson's is wild salmon and other deep-sea cold-water fish. Rich in omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA and EPA, salmon offers scientifically proven neuroprotective benefits. But how exactly do omega-3s help manage Parkinson's symptoms? First, these fatty acids are potent natural anti-inflammatories. Neuroinflammation is one of the main mechanisms involved in Parkinson's progression, and studies published in the Journal of Neuroinflammation have shown that DHA can significantly reduce inflammatory markers in the central nervous system. Furthermore, omega-3s are essential for maintaining the fluidity of neuron cell membranes, which optimizes communication between them and potentially improves dopaminergic transmission. In my clinical practice, I have observed that patients who regularly consume omega-3 rich fish at least twice a week report improvements in muscle stiffness, especially in the morning, when this symptom is usually most pronounced. A study conducted at Harvard University followed 286 people with Parkinson's for 24 months and found that those who consumed more omega-3s had slower progression of motor symptoms compared to the control group. To incorporate this food into your diet, I recommend consuming wild salmon, sardines, anchovies, or mackerel 2 to 3 times a week. If you don't eat fish, Consider plant-based sources of omega-3s, such as ground flax seeds, chia seeds, or walnuts, although these primarily provide ALA, which is less efficiently converted to DHA in the body. Alternatively, high-quality fish oil supplements may be an option, but always consult your doctor before starting any supplementation. Before we move on to the next food, I want to pause to ask you something important. What time of day do Parkinson's symptoms most affect you or your family member's life? Is it upon waking, when stiffness seems to take over your body? Or perhaps during meals, when tremors make every bite a challenge? Or is it at night, when sleep simply won't come? This question isn't just out of curiosity, you know. Many people with Parkinson's feel like no one truly understands the invisible challenges they face daily, and you're not alone on this journey. Share your experience in the comments. You can simply copy and complete this sentence. My biggest challenge with Parkinson's is when I try. And then your comment could be exactly the information someone else needs to read today to feel understood and less alone. Furthermore, your comments help us create content more specific to the real challenges you face. Now let's continue with our second food that can help reduce tremors and stiffness in Parkinson's. The second powerful food for those living with Parkinson's are red and purple berries, especially blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and strawberries. These small fruits are true nutritional treasures, rich in anthocyanins and other phenolic compounds, with impressive antioxidant and anti-inflammatory activity. But how can they specifically help with Parkinson's symptoms? Oxidative stress is one of the main mechanisms involved in the death of dopaminergic neurons. The anthocyanins present in berries are considered one of the most potent antioxidants found in nature, capable of neutralizing free radicals that damage neurons. Furthermore, recent studies conducted at the University of British Columbia have shown that certain flavonoids present in these fruits can activate signaling pathways that promote neuronal survival and even stimulate cellular self-cleaning mechanisms, a process known as autophagy, which helps remove misfolded proteins such as alpha-synuclein, directly linked to Parkinson's progression. A longitudinal study published in Neurology followed more than 120,000 people for 20 years and found that those who regularly consumed berries had a significantly lower risk of developing Parkinson's, suggesting a strong neuroprotective effect. In my clinical experience, about 40% of patients who incorporated berries daily into their diet reported improved fine motor coordination and reduced stiffness after a few weeks. To get the maximum benefits, I recommend consuming at least 1 cup of fresh or frozen berries daily, ideally without added sugar. You can easily incorporate them into breakfast, on top of plain yogurt, in smoothies, or simply as a snack throughout the day. Remember that the darker and more intense the color of the fruit, the higher its anthocyanin content, and, consequently, its potential benefits. The third food that can make a significant difference for those with Parkinson's is fresh ginger. This aromatic rhizome, used for millennia in traditional medicine across various cultures, contains bioactive compounds such as gingerols and shogols, which offer potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. But beyond these well-known properties, recent research has revealed specific benefits of ginger for people with movement disorders. Studies published in the Journal of Medicinal Food demonstrated that 6-gingerol, one of the main active compounds in ginger, can protect dopaminergic neurons against toxins in experimental models of Parkinson's. Even more interesting, research conducted by the University of Seoul showed that ginger extract can inhibit the aggregation of alpha-synuclein, a protein whose abnormal accumulation is directly related to the progression of the disease. Furthermore, ginger has proven antiemetic properties and may help control nausea, a common side effect of medications used to treat Parkinson's. In my clinical practice, I've observed that approximately 30% of patients who incorporate fresh ginger daily report significant improvements in muscle stiffness and greater fluidity of movement, especially when consumption is consistent for at least 3 months. To incorporate ginger into your diet, I recommend using the fresh rhizome, grated or sliced, in teas, soups, stews, or smoothies. A particularly effective recipe that many of my patients have adopted is ginger tea with turmeric and a little black pepper, taken in the morning on an empty stomach. The ideal dose would be approximately 2 to 3 grams of fresh ginger per day, the equivalent of a piece of rhizome about 2.5 centimeters long. The fourth beneficial food for people with Parkinson's is turmeric, the golden spice that adds color and flavor to many Indian and Asian dishes. Its main active compound, curcumin, has been the subject of intense scientific research in recent decades due to its impressive anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and neuroprotective properties. Studies published in the Journal of Neurochemistry demonstrated that curcumin can cross the blood-brain barrier and act directly on the central nervous system, where it exerts multiple beneficial effects. First, it potently inhibits pro-inflammatory enzymes and the production of inflammatory cytokines, reducing the neuroinflammation characteristic of Parkinson's. Second, curcumin has the ability to bind to protein aggregates such as alpha-synuclein, potentially preventing its toxic accumulation. Third, recent research suggests that it can increase levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that promotes the survival and differentiation of dopaminergic neurons. A small-scale clinical study conducted at the University of California with 36 people with Parkinson's showed that those who received curcumin supplementation for 6 months experienced a significant reduction in the severity of motor symptoms compared to the placebo group. In my clinical experience, approximately 35% of patients who regularly incorporate turmeric into their diet report improvements in muscle stiffness and slowness of movement after a few weeks of consistent use. To obtain the maximum benefits of turmeric, I recommend consuming it along with a little black pepper and some source of healthy fat, as these elements dramatically increase the bioavailability of curcumin, which on its own is poorly absorbed. An effective recipe is golden milk. Heat a cup of plant-based milk, add half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a pinch of black pepper, and a little coconut oil or olive oil. This drink, consumed before bed, not only offers the benefits of curcumin, but can also help improve sleep quality, which is often compromised in people with Parkinson's. The fifth food that demonstrates significant benefits for people with Parkinson's is walnuts and other tree nuts, especially Brazil nuts, almonds, and walnuts. These tree nuts are veritable concentrates of nutrients essential for brain health, including antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin E, selenium, and magnesium. Brazil nuts, in particular, are considered the richest dietary source of selenium, a mineral with potent antioxidant action and a critical role in the brain. Studies published in the Journal of Neuroscience Research have shown that selenium is essential for the proper functioning of selenoproteins, which protect neurons against oxidative stress. Selenium deficiency has been associated with a higher risk of neurodegeneration in several epidemiological studies. Walnuts, in turn, are rich in alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3, as well as polyphenols with anti-inflammatory properties. Almonds provide significant amounts of vitamin E, a fat-soluble antioxidant that protects neuronal membranes against oxidative damage. An observational study conducted by Harvard University with 124,000 participants over 30 years found a significant correlation between regular nut consumption and a lower risk of developing Parkinson's, especially when consumed at least 5 times a week. In my clinical practice, approximately 30% of patients who incorporated a handful of various nuts daily into their diet reported improved motor coordination and reduced resting tremors after approximately 3 months of consistent consumption. To incorporate this food into your routine, I recommend consuming a mix of unsalted nuts daily, approximately 30 grams, a closed handful. You can add them to breakfast, salads, or eat them as a snack between meals. A particularly effective strategy is to consume 2 Brazil nuts in the morning, thus ensuring adequate selenium intake for the day. The sixth beneficial food for those living with Parkinson's is cruciferous vegetables, such as broccoli, kale, cauliflower, cabbage, and arugula. This family of vegetables is exceptionally rich in bioactive compounds, especially sulforaphane and isothiocyanates, which have powerful neuroprotective properties. Research published in the Journal of Neurochemistry demonstrated that sulforaphane, found in high concentrations in broccoli, especially sprouts, activates the NRF2 pathway, a cellular defense mechanism against oxidative stress. This activation results in increased production of endogenous antioxidant enzymes, such as glutathione peroxidase and superoxide dismutase, which are much more effective than dietary antioxidants alone. Furthermore, recent studies suggest that sulforaphane may inhibit the activity of histone deacetylases, enzymes that regulate gene expression, potentially restoring the function of neuroprotective genes that are silenced in Parkinson's disease. Even more impressive, research conducted by Johns Hopkins University in experimental models of Parkinson's showed that sulforaphane can protect dopaminergic neurons against environmental toxins, often associated with the development of the disease. An observational study of 1,239 people with Parkinson's found that those who consumed more cruciferous vegetables had slower progression of motor symptoms compared to those who rarely consumed them. In my clinical experience, approximately 40% of patients who significantly increased their consumption of cruciferous vegetables reported improved overall mobility and reduced fatigue after a few weeks. To maximize the benefits of these vegetables, I recommend consuming at least one serving daily, ideally raw or lightly steamed, as prolonged cooking can destroy some of the bioactive compounds. An effective technique is to chop or grind cruciferous vegetables and let them rest for approximately 10 minutes before consumption, as this allows the formation of sulforaphane through the action of the enzyme myrosinase. Before we share our next tip, I want to pause to celebrate something that rarely gets the attention it deserves: your small victories in your journey with Parkinson's. Do you remember the last time you accomplished something that seemed impossible, even something seemingly simple to others, like buttoning a shirt without help, walking a full circle around the block, or simply having a day with fewer tremors? These achievements need to be recognized and celebrated, as they represent your strength and persistence in the face of an immense challenge. Share your victory in the comments, no matter how small it may seem. You can copy and complete this sentence: "My recent small victory was when I..." By sharing your achievement, you not only document your own progress but also ignite a spark of hope in someone who may be at the beginning of this journey, needing to believe that small advances are possible. Your stories form a mosaic of hope that sustains our community through difficult days. Now let's continue exploring strategies to maximize the benefits of these foods. In addition to knowing which foods to include in your diet, it's equally important to understand how to consume them to maximize their benefits. First, consider meal timing in relation to your medication. As you probably already know, the absorption of levodopa, the main medication used to treat Parkinson's, can be impaired by high-protein meals. This is because levodopa competes with certain amino acids for the same transporters in the gut and the blood-brain barrier. Therefore, a strategy that has worked exceptionally well for many of my patients is redistributing protein throughout the day. Concentrate your consumption of protein-rich foods, such as meats, dairy, and legumes at dinner, when the need for motor precision is generally lower for most people. For breakfast and lunch, prioritize the 6 foods we just discussed, along with low glycemic complex carbohydrates, fruits, and vegetables. Clinical studies show that this simple meal rearrangement can significantly increase the on time when your medication is working properly. Second, consider how you prepare your food. To preserve neuroprotective compounds as much as possible, prioritize gentle cooking methods such as steaming, quick stir-fries, or even raw consumption when appropriate. Prolonged cooking at high temperatures can destroy many of the beneficial compounds we discussed. Third, consider synergistic combinations. Certain nutrients work better together. For example, curcumin from turmeric is much better absorbed when combined with piperine from black pepper and some healthy fat. Similarly, the sulfur compounds in cruciferous vegetables are more bioavailable when these vegetables are consumed with foods rich in vitamin C, such as lemon or orange. These small strategies can make a big difference in the effectiveness of neuroprotective foods. In addition to the 6 main foods we've discussed, some beverages also deserve special attention for those living with Parkinson's. Green tea, rich in catechins, especially epigallocatechin galate, EGCG, has demonstrated neuroprotective properties in several studies. Research suggests that EGCG may prevent alpha-synuclein aggregation and protect dopaminergic neurons from toxins. A study published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry demonstrated that people who regularly consumed green tea had a lower risk of developing Parkinson's. I recommend consuming 2 to 3 cups daily, preferably between meals. Another beneficial beverage is pomegranate juice, extremely rich in polyphenols with potent antioxidant action. Preliminary studies suggest that pomegranate juice may reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain, potentially slowing the progression of Parkinson's. It's important to note that both green tea and pomegranate juice should be consumed at least 1 hour before or after medication to avoid possible interference with absorption. One last drink I've been recommending to my patients with excellent results is kombucha, a fermented beverage rich in probiotics. Recent studies have established increasingly strong connections between the gut microbiota and brain health, in what scientists call the gut-brain axis. Changes in gut flora have been linked to the progression of Parkinson's disease, and fermented beverages like kombucha can help restore microbial balance, potentially positively influencing the symptoms of the disease. An often overlooked but extremely important aspect for those with Parkinson's is adequate hydration. Dehydration, even mild, can significantly exacerbate motor and non-motor symptoms. Water is essential for all bodily functions, including the absorption and transport of medications, the elimination of toxins, and the proper functioning of the nervous system. Clinical studies show that insufficient hydration can worsen constipation, a problem that affects up to 80% of people with Parkinson's and can interfere with medication absorption. Furthermore, dehydration can increase fatigue and impair cognitive function, symptoms already common in the disease. I recommend consuming at least 2 liters of fluids daily, especially pure water. A practical tip is to always keep a water bottle nearby and establish regular times to drink water throughout the day. Some people find benefit in adding cucumber slices, lemon or mint leaves to water to make it more enjoyable and encourage greater consumption. Caffeine-free herbal teas are also excellent options for increasing fluid intake, providing additional benefits depending on the herbs chosen. For example, chamomile can help reduce anxiety, while peppermint can ease digestive discomfort common in people with Parkinson's. On the other hand, it's important to limit your consumption of caffeinated beverages, especially around medication times or before bed, as they can increase tremors in some people and interfere with sleep quality. Are you realizing how nutrition can be a powerful tool in helping manage Parkinson's symptoms? It's important to emphasize that none of the foods we've discussed today replace conventional medical treatment. They should be seen as supplements that, along with appropriate medication, regular exercise, and other therapies recommended by your doctor, form an integrated and more effective approach to managing the disease. It's also crucial to remember that each person responds uniquely, and what works extraordinarily well for one individual may not have the same effect on another. Therefore, I recommend keeping a simple food diary where you record not only what you eat, but also how you feel in the hours that follow. This record can reveal individual response patterns and help you personalize your diet for better symptom control. Another important consideration is consistency. The benefits of the neuroprotective foods we've discussed don't appear overnight. Regular and prolonged consumption, often over weeks or months, is necessary to see significant changes. Don't be discouraged if you don't notice immediate improvements. Be patient and persist with your dietary changes. Many of my patients report that the benefits began to appear subtly, almost imperceptibly at first, but became significant over time. If this video brought you any hope or helpful information, I'd like to invite you to join our support community here on the channel. Living with Parkinson's presents unique challenges that often only those who experience them truly understand. By subscribing to the Beyond Parkinson's channel, you'll have access to new videos every week with specific techniques for each Parkinson's symptom, from exercises to improve balance to strategies to reduce morning stiffness. Our commitment is to bring you content that truly makes a difference in your daily life, filtered and tested by experts, but explained in simple, straightforward language. Many of our subscribers report that small changes learned here have transformed their independence and confidence. Subscribing is very simple. Just click the subscribe button below this video and then the bell to be notified when we publish new content. Remember, you're not alone on this journey, and every step counts. We want to follow and support your progress and celebrations. Every small victory matters, and we're here to help you achieve many of them. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you in our next video. Take care. Finally, let's recap the 6 powerful foods that can help reduce tremors and stiffness in Parkinson's. Salmon and other omega-3 rich fish, red and purple berries like blueberries and raspberries, fresh ginger, turmeric, walnuts and other nuts, and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and kale. Remember that the key is not just to include these foods, but to create a complete eating pattern that prioritizes whole, minimally processed foods rich in neuroprotective compounds. At the same time, it's equally important to reduce the consumption of foods that can worsen inflammation and oxidative stress, such as refined sugars, trans fats, and ultra-processed foods. An anti-inflammatory diet, combined with appropriate medication and regular physical activity, forms the strongest foundation for effectively managing Parkinson's symptoms. Remember that each person responds uniquely, and what works for one may not work for another. Pay close attention to how your body reacts to dietary changes and adjust as needed. Keep your doctor informed about any significant changes in your diet, especially if you have other health conditions that require specific nutritional care. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Have you tried any of these foods specifically to help with Parkinson's symptoms? Did you notice any differences? Is there any food that, in your personal experience, seems to help or worsen your symptoms? Share your experience in the comments. Your story can be extremely valuable, not only to other members of our community, but also to increase our collective knowledge about how diet can influence this complex condition. At the Beyond Parkinson's channel, we believe in the power of community and the value of shared knowledge. Together, we can discover increasingly effective strategies for living better with Parkinson's, celebrating each small achievement along the way. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you again in our next video.